I knew when I first started that I had to try and figure out how much this lifestyle might cost me. By creating an expense spreadsheet for myself, I was able to hold myself accountable and I was able to watch my expenses. The first year was a big guesstimate because I had never done anything like this before. The second year wasn't much better because I traveled differently. I added in a Jeep and a tow dolly, and I had some unexpected expenses along the way. To help you with your own estimating and budgeting, I've created a budget tracker for you to download and use for free. I'll demonstrate how to use it at the end of the video, and I'll put a link in the description so you can download it if you want it. But first, let me show you my actual expense numbers for 2024. What I've done is I've divided this up into several categories. Entertainment, everyday, which is groceries and laundry, health, medical, home, insurance, pets, transportation, utilities, and then broke it down by the month. Entertainment would be my theme parks. If you've been following me at all, you know that I love my theme parks and I spend my winters in Florida, and then other outdoor activities. So that could be boat rides, museums, things like that. So my total entertainment came out to $286 a month. My groceries, I averaged about $278 a month. I'm also going to compare this because I know some of you are looking to start your own journey. I'm going to compare this to 2023 when I was starting this RV life. So it does include a little bit about what my life was like before I actually started. So you can compare that. If you're trying to put a budget together for yourself and figure out how much you're going to spend every month, it's good to look at your budget before you move or before you hit the road, and then guesstimate, because that's all you can do is guesstimate the budget about hitting the road. Laundry, I spend about $12 a month. You can see in here there's some 0 months. Those are months that I had a family member who was kind enough to let me do laundry at their house. And my doctors, this was doctor's appointments, dentist appointments. My physicals are covered under my regular health insurance. I'm not on medication. The biggest expense I had here was I had to get 2 pairs of glasses because Willie ate 2 pairs of glasses, which was totally my fault, but he ate 2 pairs in 2 weeks. I had to replace them because I had to drive with my contacts. I prefer to wear my glasses when I'm driving, so that was an interesting month, but that was my biggest healthcare expense for 2024. Home, the first one is rent. That is the cost of my Thousand Trails annual membership. That was $1,674 or $140 a month. My other camping was camping for times that I either chose not to camp in a Thousand Trails park, say I had friends who were camping someplace else, or I was out of the system the whole time that I was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, a lot of Wisconsin and Minnesota, as well as on the way back between Pennsylvania and Florida, and a little bit in Kentucky. So there were some times that I was out of the system, and this year was a little expensive. That cost was $2,545 or $212 for an average on a month. If you add the $140 and the $212 together, it came out to about $360 a month. If you divide that by 30 days in a month, it came out to about, I averaged $30 a night in camping costs. Insurance, this includes my full-time RV insurance. It would include your cost of health insurance. I also have supplemental insurance, life insurance, my Jeep insurance, and then I put AAA and Good Sam in there. This year, my insurance for everything came to $5,891. Again, I will compare that to what it was last year. And this year was more, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So my total was $140 a month on that. Pets, $178 a month. That's for food, grooming, vet visits, transportation. This is a big one. My fuel came to $4,277 total for the year, which was $356 a month. I drove at least 8,000 miles this year. This includes my fuel for the Jeep and for the RV, so $356 a month in fuel. I get about 9 gallons a mile on my RV. I get about 30 gallons a mile on my Jeep. So it's nice to have that Jeep so that I don't have to drive the RV everywhere. The first year I did not have a Jeep. I only went with the RV. I did not have a tow vehicle, and the gas, I was more cautious and careful about the gas I used, on top of where I had to park and where I could go. I couldn't go everywhere because with a 27-foot RV, you have to be careful where you park sometimes. Repairs and maintenance, I really got hit hard on this year. In the beginning of the year, I had my seals all recaulked, stripped out, recaulked, and I felt that would be a good thing to do. That was something that it showed on my inspection report when I bought my RV, and I did that this year. Would I have done it knowing what my other repairs were going to be? Yes, it needed to be done, and it had to be done, and it was important that it was done. However, when I started to travel, within 2 days, I ended up in a diesel shop, for 4 days while they fixed my high-speed oil pump. And then I had another big expense in October, not quite as big, but still big, when I had a coolant leak, which still is not fixed 100%, but it's drivable, and it's something that I will get fixed when I get my oil changes and everything next month. My overall repairs and maintenance for 2024 were $6,655, or $555 a month. I had budgeted $250 a month. So you can see it's super important to have an emergency fund or an emergency credit card with nothing on it, so that when you run into situations, you can pay for them. I prefer the emergency credit card, and then I'll just pay it back at the end of the month. I don't have to worry about having cash with me or money in a certain account. But it's important to have access to an emergency fund. I would recommend at least $10,000, whether it's for repairs, hotel rooms, Airbnbs. At least $10,000 is a good starting point for an emergency fund. To leave the house and go full-time in an RV without an emergency fund, to me, would be frightening, because you just never know what's going to happen. And then my utilities, so my phone, my internet, I didn't have any electricity costs, but my propane, water, which I did have. I'm working on getting rid of water bottles. I'll talk about that in another video. And my total utilities for the year came to $2,902, or $242 a month. The total for the year came to $34,884, or $2,907 a month. That includes the $6,000 in repairs. I can't uninclude it because I paid for it. But if I take that out, and it puts my actual living expenses at about $28,000 a year. I own an older RV. I don't have any payments on it. When you own an older RV, and even newer RVs, you know that there's going to be things that you have to fix. For me, I would rather have a paid off vehicle with no payments and possibly have to put a little bit more into the repairs than to have to make payments on an RV. My goal was to keep this lifestyle debt-free. I want to show you 2023 so that you can compare a little bit about what my life expenses were before I started living full-time in an RV compared to living full-time in an RV. Also, the amount of travel that I did, you can see the variations in travel, the variations in gas prices, the variations in maintenance and repair prices. If you were watching this and trying to estimate what your expenses would be, I think that it's helpful to have your budget and to fill this in for where you are now, and then try and guesstimate, because that's all you can really do, where you're going to be. So in 2023, I'll start with the entertainment, same thing. So I still had my Kindle, my theme parks. I did add a Disney Pixie Pass as I moved into the Orlando area for the winter. I was just too close to Disney. I could hear the fireworks going off at night, and they called me, and I had to get a Pixie Pass. So I did pay for that. My restaurants were more expensive in 2023. They averaged $2,500 compared to $1,600. And the reason for that is very simple. I was in Maine, and all up and down the East Coast, I love seafood, and there was a lot of lobster in Maine. And lobster was very expensive. When I traveled through Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota, the food was not as plentiful. I did not eat a lot of fast food. I prepared my food in my RV. So you'll see a little down the road that my grocery bill was a little bit higher in 2024. However, I did not eat out nearly as much as I ate out in Maine and Massachusetts and North Carolina and South Carolina, because the food was just too tempting there. So my outside activities, I did have some outside activities. I did go to Stone Mountain. I did do a carriage ride in Acadia and a boat ride in Acadia. So that's all included in here. Groceries, I averaged $224 a month compared to 2024, which was $278 a month. I did cook a lot more at home. Health and medical was about the same except for the $160 glasses bill. Home is a little bit different, and I wanted to show this to you. I quit my job in December of 2022, and by February 2022 I started to think about going full-time, and I bought a zone pass, 3,000 trails, to see what that was all about. And I started to camp in the zone in Florida. Pretty much there's a lot of places in Florida, just to test it out and see if I liked it. More and more time until I decided that I didn't want to go back home again, and I put my house on the market and I transferred everything over to a 1,000 Trails Adventure Pass, which I bought knowing that I was going to be selling my house and paying off the 1,000 Trails Adventure Pass immediately once I had the money all worked out through the sale of my home. So I wrote the whole thing off in 1 year. I just wanted it done with. I wanted to do this with no debt. So that total came to about $18,000, including tax. So the point is that I bought my 1,000 Trails Adventure Pass not just in Florida, but in Orlando. So I had to pay the sales tax for Florida as well as the tourism tax for being in Orlando. So if you have the opportunity of buying a pass, or you're thinking about buying a 1,000 Trails Pass, consider what state and what location you're buying it in, because you can save money on your taxes by not buying it in Orlando. But that put my total camping, including the other camping I had done with friends and outside of the system, for the year of 2023 at $22,290. It's done. I don't have to worry about it. It came out to about $1,857 a month compared to 2024, which was $456 a month. Some people might consider writing that off over a 5-year period so they can see the actual cost of camping. I just looked at it like I don't have a sticks and brick house anymore. This is my sticks and brick house. My 1,000 Trails membership is my sticks and bricks house. It gives me a place to stay every night if I choose. My maintenance and improvements, I had a lot more improvements. I had $1,696 in improvements in 2023 compared to $816 total of improvements in 2024. And that's because when you first move into your RV, you're going to find things to improve. I put a pantry in, I moved things around, I made this very comfortable for me, which I changed again in 2024, but the bulk of the money to make things comfortable for me, to buy all the accessories that I needed that did not come with the camper. Some came with the camper, but most of the things that I needed and wanted, I had to buy on my own. So the first year, know that you will spend more on improvements on your house and budget for that. It doesn't have to be $1,700, but little things add up quickly. My insurance total came to $3,961 in 2023 compared to $5,891 in 2024. And that is because my full-time RV insurance through Progressive went up by 50%. I also added a Jeep into the mix, so I had a Jeep insurance that I did not have in 2023, and that did bring the cost of my insurance up, between those two things, almost $2,000. With the hurricanes and everything going on in Florida, everybody's insurance has jumped. Homeowners jumped by, I don't even know, 30, 50%. Car insurance jumped 30, 50% or more, and that's just part of living in Florida. My pets stayed about the same at $200 a month, $200 a month for shots, vet visits, everything throughout the year, and also including the cat is what I choose to deal with. It's part of having pets. Transportation came to $3,568. The gas was less. It was $2,966 compared to $4,277. My trip was not as long. I did not drive as many miles. I also had the Jeep, which means I drove more miles. I tended to go out more because I had a car to go out in. So I did go visit more places and do different things. My repairs were only $2,112, mostly for oil changes and things like that, compared to the $6,655 that I spent in 2024. My first year I got off pretty easy. I didn't have flat tires or anything major that needed to be replaced, except for the tires that leaked due to the extensions. This has been a problem I've had ever since I own the RV. I finally have taken the extensions off, and knock on wood, my problems seem to have stopped. Utilities, they were $223 in 2023 and $242 in 2024, and that's only because my AT&T went up yet again. Yes, it's a different day and I'm wearing different clothes. I went to work on this section of the video last night only to realize that this recording was corrupted. So here I am next day doing it again for you. But today we're going to talk about your budget planning. If you decide to download a copy of this budget tracker for yourself, you can save this video to refer back to as you start to plug in your own numbers. Sometimes I will keep track of my receipts every day or every week, but right now I have a mug load of my own receipts that I still have to enter for 2025. So there's no time frame. You'll figure out what's right for you, when to do it, once a month, once a week. Every day I find is a lot right now, especially. But this is a 4-page spreadsheet for you. On the first page is your setup instructions on how to use this. So you get started by making a copy and saving it to your own device. Then you can enter your starting balance on the setup page in the highlighted area, the yellow highlighted area that you see here, if you want to. You don't have to do that. I like to do that because it helps me keep track of my money a little bit and how long it's lasting. And then you're gonna go and fill out your expenses and income tabs. Now, you can feel free to rename or delete the categories in those tabs. Your changes will automatically be reflected on the summary page, like I'll show you in a minute. I caution against deleting them. If you're not using them, just leave them in. Otherwise, it could possibly mess up the formulating of your calculations. On your expenses page, all of your different categories. Again, if you're not using any of those categories, like pets or technology, just don't fill them in. You can change the item names within each area without messing up the formatting of the calculations. You can also add notes like I do on my budget to show you where you've eaten, how much you spend on a particular grocery bill, where you've gotten your gas from. It depends how detailed you decide you want to be. On the next page, you can enter your income. Again, you can change the descriptions to minor paycheck, bonus, commission. That's how I'm paid on my part-time job. And then I have other, so interest income, gifts that I might receive, refunds, things that I want to keep track of and put in, but they're not necessarily income that I have to pay taxes on. And on the last page is your summary, where it takes everything and puts it together. At the top of the page, it'll give you a bar chart for each month to see how much you've spent. You can compare your income and your actual expenses easily right next to each other. If you've entered in a starting balance, it will show you your net savings that month as well as the ending balance. And then it takes all of your expenses and shows them so you can get an overview. And at the very bottom, it gives you another bar chart of all your items so you can see where your money is really going. I hope you found this longish video helpful to keep track of your own expenses and possibly figure out how much money you would need to start your own RV life. Thank you so much for joining me again this week and for all of the love on the last video. I am so grateful, and I am glad that I'm helping people to think about what they want their own lives to look like. I'll see you next week.